Right then, here we go. Kitten Project Part 5. So it's, I don't know what date it is today, I can't remember, but we've got one full week left before Christmas. And I've made a start on putting all this together now. So there's some stuff that's on the car already, and we'll get to that shortly. So here we've got the back plate now built up with the stub axle and the steering assembly thing here. So the Bundy pipe is fitted onto the new cylinders routed around here, so I can get clear access to this adjuster. As you can see, everything's been painted up. All the new bolts that are in there have been copper slipped, and the brake assembly is being put together. Now, this is what I was talking about in here. Can you see in here? You can buy these ready made up, as I said, from Mini Specialists. But how do you get to that bolt there? How on earth do you get to that? You see what I mean? You can get to this one, but if you've taken this off to renew the back plates and you've got to put all this back together, you know, because you don't get this, do you? Right? So you've got to bolt that to your new assembly. And if they send you this new assembly like this, how do you do that? I don't get it. Unless, of course, you might be able to slide this to one side, but you've got to remember to fit these little spring locators here that go into the little holes. You've got to remember to fit these, so you can't really slide this to one side. There might be a way to do it, I don't know, but it just looks a bit awkward to me. So I thought, well, why bother? Just get all the bits separately. And then we come to a slight schoolboy error. I have noticed what's missing. No bleed nipple. I was assured by the chap at Minisport when I placed the order that these came with bleed nipples, and I only noticed yesterday when I was putting this together that it's missing. So they're on order, and hopefully they'll come this week, because I want to try and get this on the road for, well, certainly within a week or two. I need to get it. I've been invited somewhere for New Year's Eve to my mate's static caravan, which is near Southport, and that's the goal. Whether I get this car ready for then, I just don't know. I can always go in tricycle, I suppose, as long as the weather's not bad. So that's one side ready. That's ready to go on car. And what we'll do is we'll go and have a look at what's been put on there so far. Right then, here we are at the car. And you can see I've made a start of putting this suspension together now. The first job I did was to grease this steering column in here. I've got plenty of grease in here, and also, I don't know if you can see that in there, it's a bit dark, the teeth on the rack there. That's been well greased, and it can actually, if I push hard enough, you can actually rub that in and out. You only have to do that once or twice. That pulls all the grease in, and obviously those teeth out on the other side. So the other error, the other thing that I've had to put on order, those steering boots that I bought, that I was told Mark would Escort fit this. No, they're either not Mark would Escort or it were a load of rubbish to start with. They were too small, they don't fit over that. So I've had to buy like a universal, I've ordered a universal steering gear. It needs to be quite long as well, because it's got to fit on that end in there, and when it's on full lock it needs to come right out to fit here. So it needs to be a decent length to cover all that on full lock without stretching too far. So that's on order. So it is greased, but I need to do that. Obviously I've got tracker rod end to put on. If I just pan back a bit, you can see now I've got all the parts on. All new nuts and bolts have been fitted, all been copper slipped. Interesting thing here, it says in the manual that the nut has to be on the inside. And the reason it has to be on the inside is because if ever you take that off, you can't withdraw the bolt, because the bolt has to come out this way, because the spring's in the way, obviously. And what does that entail? Well, you remember when I nicked the fiberglass and I said I had to repair it? Well, I didn't repair it as such. What I did was I just cut all this out. I cut all this out because it was actually impossible to put that bolt in straight. I don't know how they do this in factory. They must fit all this suspension and then put the body on afterwards, because there was no way to put that bolt in straight when the fiberglass that kind of goes in there, you just couldn't do it. It were impossible. You had to cut this out to get that bolt in there. The other thing I had to do, remember I made this panel, this little repair bracket. I had to make a new one of these because the hole that this flexi went through was a little bit too high, and I couldn't get a spanner onto the brass fitting at the back. It was too high, so I just had to remake that. It didn't take too long, and centralise this hole a bit more between these screws. And fitting that pipe in there, you see that when it goes into the union, that were a little bit of a nightmare. It took me quite a while. So good job I did that first, because obviously afterwards then I've created quite a bit of dust cutting this out, and dust would have all got in there into that union, which you do not want. So it's a good job I did that pipe first and this first, and then discovered that I needed another gator for this. But everything's bolted together. It's not tightened up. You can see I've not tightened anything up. It's all quite loose at the moment, and I've got the other side to put together. So we're getting there. Although I never took this, I have had this off, this anti-roll bar. These bushes are new. I fitted those last year. I can't remember if I covered that or not, but those bushes are new, even if this bar itself isn't. The other thing you've got to watch out for when you're fitting this on the kit, you've got to wind these rings up quite a bit. You've got to wind them up to at least here. And I don't know if I can get in here and show you this. Where the anti-roll bar where the anti-roll bar? Can we get in there? Can you see the anti-roll bar there? Right, if you don't wind the rings up, can you see the rings? If you don't wind the rings up, they clash with this rubber and this cap. So you've got to wind them up high enough that you miss that. You've got to wind them high enough that you miss. Can't even point at it, it's awkward. You've got to wind them high enough that the rings get above this. So that's just something to watch out for. So I'll have to wind the other one up before I come to fit it. But we are getting there. And you know, on this bit here, I mean, you saw this were all done before I fitted the top ball joint. But what I had to do, I had to take this to a garage and get that pressed in properly on a press, because I couldn't do it. You can, I mean, to knock the old one out, I just used an oversized socket and whacked it out. And I tried to do it on this side, but it was just taking too much, and a vice wasn't strong enough to do it. I would have ended up damaging this. So I took it to a garage. I gave the guy a tenner. He only asked for a fiver. I says, "Oh, I'll give you a tenner." You know what I mean? It saved me a whole lot of ball ache. So there we are, all ready to go. I'll just focus there a bit better. So we are getting there. You can see the remnants of all the mess down at the bottom, bits and pieces all sweeping up. And I'll come back when I've done a bit more and see how I get on with the other side as well. Right, back shortly. Right then, here we are round at the passenger side. You can see I've got this bracket fitted now, this new bracket. Looks a bit of a bodge job, but it's working. It's in there firmly, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. One little tip I would give, or major tip really, is when you're doing it like this, always take photographs of what you had before. Now, I've got a bit of an issue. I'm not sure on these wishbones now. I'm not sure if I've pushed the ball joint through at the right side. Now you might think, well, does that matter? In the manual, the angled leg always goes to the front of the car, right? So as I hold this up here, I'm really poor with this. As I hold this up here, that is how that will fit, right? And in the Kitten manual, it clearly shows like there's this ridge at the back here, this like little vertical wall of metal. It does show that. It's not a photograph, it's like a drawing. You know what they're like in these manuals. Now that is how I've got this. If you flip it over the other side, there is a little bit of a wall there, but it's more of a slope. It's not, and I'm still unsure as to whether I've actually done it right. And the reason I'm thinking it matters is because when you put it in and you bolt it up, as I have done on the driver's side, that little plate there is kind of angled, so it helps point the joint face in the right direction. I might have done it right. It looks like I've done it right in the manual, but I'm not sure. I did take a photograph of all the brake shoes and springs go together, so I've done that. So that's on the driver's side. We'll come to that later, just to make sure I've got this right. I've not tightened anything up, and for now I've thrown a bag over it. I've quite literally thrown a bag. It's a phrase one of my mates says when you sack something off. I've actually put a bag over it all and tied it up with string, so that when if we get any bad weather, it's not all going to get into the brake shoes and stuff and what have you. So yeah, I'm cracking on with this side now. I'm just checking on the Reliant Facebook Kitten page if I've done this right. If this is wrong, I'm going to have to take these back to that garage and have them taken out and put in the other way around. I think they're right, but I'm not certain. So that's a little bit of a tip for people. So just looking at this again here, I'm not going to replace this boot. It wants a new clip put on here, but this is not torn. I don't think it is. Oh, there's a little hole there. I might have to do this. I've only ordered one boot for the driver's side. This side is not so important because this side there's no teeth on this side for the steering. It only goes on the other side. So another thing I had to do is, if you look in here, there's a washer there. Now ideally that washer should have been welded in, but I've used JB Weld, and the reason I've put that in is I didn't actually cut through the metal or anything, but I shaved it quite thin when I was struggling to get all this rubbish out. Really struggling, because it had seized solid. You can see the bolt in that thing there. It's so seized solid up there that I had to get the angle grinder in and shave away, and it kind of brushed this down a bit, and it were a bit thin. So just for belt and braces, I've welded that washer in. So what it'll do is, it means that opening there is closed by about a mil, if that. But I have checked that I can get the wishbone in. The wishbone will go in there. So anyway, I'll crack on and we'll see where I get to next. Right, managed to get on a bit more. So we've now got everything in. This is as far as I'm going to go for now, because I'm going to take a bit of advice on this. I mean, this were actually quite easy to do, to get in here, because look at the room you get on this side. I were able to get the bolts in straight. Didn't have to cut any of this away. Able to get the bolts in straight. I didn't have to make this pipe, the brake pipe that goes across the back. So that was some time saved there. And everything's got together reasonably well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stub axle and brake assembly and everything together. I'm going to do that inside, and then that needs to go between these points. At first I thought I'd done this wrong. If you look at there, you see how offset these two parts are, and at first I thought that they should be opposite each other, but I've checked in the manual. I wasted half an hour because I took on the driver's side, I took this off, being convinced it were wrong, and going by the manual it looks like it's right, but I'm going to take advice on this bit here as to whether this is right. I think it is, looking in the manual, but it's a drawing, it's not a photograph, and this angled bit of the leg definitely goes to the front of the car, because it's on the same side as this tie bar. So it looks like this is right, but I'm going to leave it at that for now, and I'm waiting for these parts to come. I'm waiting for that boot for the driver's side, that's that steering gear for the driver's side, and I'm waiting for some bleed nipples. The bleed nipples did not come with the new brake cylinders, so I'm waiting for them. So even when I get those on, I won't be able to bleed it. So that's where we're at the moment. I'm hoping that just one other little thing. Can you see how I've had to wind this spring right up to get this in? And again, it's because of this. Look, I don't know if you can see this. These drop links are as sold by CHG, and they're for Robin and Kitten, but they look quite steeply angled in there. They are in right. It's almost as if this this anti-roll bar's not wide enough. I don't know, but it is the anti-roll bar that was on the car. So so there we have it. But you've got to wind these up quite a bit to get those past that little metal cap there that sits on top of that rubber bush. Nothing's tightened up yet. You can see quite a bit of the thread there. Nothing is tightened up yet. There's no weight on the car at the moment, so there's still all that to do, but it's all together, and we'll see how we go from there. Right, okay. Right then, it's now Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to everybody. Although by the time you get to see this, it's probably going to be New Year, by the time Matt edits this and we get it online. So everything's done. Well, I say everything. All the suspension is in. We've got the gator in now. Got clips on both sides now. Although the inner clip here was really hard to get to, so I've done that using a tie wrap. And it was quite a meaty tie wrap. As you can see, this is what we're left of it. So it should be fine. I've tested it on full lock each way. It seems fine. All the pipes are done, all nipped up, everything's tight. I had it on its wheels yesterday. Bounced it up a couple of times. I could tell a difference then from when I used to do that before. I have got these on the softest setting. You alright? I have got these on the softest setting here, so that'll probably be adjusted. I've evened up both sides. You can wind these down a bit once you've got the anti-roll bar tightened up. It's just that when you're first fitting it, you've got to wind these right up. I noticed when I'm watching some of these videos back, because obviously I'm doing them in bits, that I repeat myself sometimes and I say things that I've mentioned in other videos, so I apologise for that. I can't do all this in one go. So everything's tightened up. It all feels alright. I've made sure that when I'm on full lock, these new brake pipes do not clash, and the same with the Bundy pipe down at the bottom, which we can't see. I'm useless with this phone. We've seen the Bundy pipe, made sure that that doesn't clash, because when I came to take the old stuff apart, I noticed that it had been squeezed on one side. So there we have it. The only thing left to do now is to bleed the brakes, and that is what I'm going to do today. So I was going to give this, well in fact I did, I gave this a go. Gunson Easy Bleed. We're just focusing on that. Now I've had a read on the internet. There seems to be mixed reviews for these. Some people have a lot of trouble with them, and some people say they're really good and easy to use. Now I did have one of these before, and the problem I had is that it wouldn't seal. One of these here would not seal, and the air were coming out of there, coming out of the cap sealed, but the joint wouldn't seal here, and I ended up giving it up as a bad job. This one, I bought this from Newark Auto Jumble in the summer, and I thought, oh, a bargain, £3. You can see it's old, the box is tatty, but it came with the instructions and it came with all the fittings that were stapled up, so it's never been used. I thought, right, I'll give this one a go. But again, this one failed. But this time, it failed here. When I put that on the tyre, on the valve, it just leaked. No, I just couldn't get it to seal at all. Just a waste of time. You're supposed to do an air pressure test first with a dry system, to make sure there's no leaks in your system. So I think my system is airtight, but this would not seal. So I'm not even going to bother messing about with it. I tried it on 2 different tyres. The tyres were about 26 psi when I was doing them, and it says you're supposed to do it higher than what you would do when you come to bleed the brakes. When you bleed the brake, you're supposed to have it between 5 and 10 or something like that psi. But I tried 2 different wheels, and I lowered the pressure right down to 10 psi, and this still leaks. Just won't seal at all. So that's 2 I've had a go at. So my review on the Gunson Easy Bleed is absolute bollocks. So the brakes are all done. I've nipped all the brakes up. One interesting thing about the brakes, I've never had a car with front drum brakes before this. My Anglia van that I had were all modified with Milton gear. And when you come to adjust these, you have to adjust one shoe each time very slightly. You've got to be really slight on the adjusters at the back, They're not notchy like the rears. On the rears, it's like a square peg, and you can feel it every 90 degrees. It's a clear notch as you're turning it. Not so here. I think the adjuster only moves through 180 degrees at most, and the slightest little turn can make a lot of difference. And you have to get them so that there's a slight, you just get a slight bind, because if I were to free that off now so it spun freely, it would make a big difference at the pedal. You'd notice it. And that's one of the disadvantages of drums, apart from the fact that they fade, you get brake fade if you drive hard. Every few thousand miles you might have to just nip them ever so slightly to get your brake pedal back to how it was when it was first bled. So I'll have another go at bleeding these brakes, but I'm going to need some assistance now, because that easy bleed's a load of rubbish. And then it'll be a road test and see how we go from there. Right then, right, I've come across another snag now. I was getting ready to bleed the brakes, which is going to have to be done on another day, because as we've just seen, the easy bleed is a waste of time. Right, so I was just getting my spanners ready to sort this out, because the front wheel cylinders and the rear wheel cylinders have got different sized bleed nipples. You need two different spanners. And I noticed when I got to the back of the car, just to check which spanner fitted properly, the driver's side were all weeping down the back of the back plate. And I wasn't sure. I thought, well, is that coming from the joint, the union, or is it coming from the wheel cylinder inside? So obviously I had to jack the car up, take the wheel off, have a look inside, and it was a bit wet inside, a little bit around this cylinder, around this here. But look at this seal. That seal is not, that seal's not on right there. It's not on at all right, and it's deformed there, look. Luckily, the brake fluid did not get onto the shoes. The shoes are all right. It might be a combination of this and the joint. But what I've decided to do is, luckily, I had two new wheel cylinders. One's on the car now. This is the other rear wheel cylinder. In fact, is that a rear wheel cylinder? That's got a different number on it. That's got NM02. This is NM06, NN06. The one that's on the car has got the same NN06 on it. So I'm not sure, unless that's the other side. I wonder if they're handed. They might be handed, I don't know. Right, so NN06 is on the car, a new one. But I've had to stop for now because it started to come down heavy with rain. So there's a snag. Now remember, I bought those back plates ready built up, just to be bolted straight onto the back of the axle, right? So I did not install these. I didn't put that in. Whether that's gone like that in service, or whether it was fitted like that, and I've not noticed, I don't know. Anyway, that's just another issue that I've got to sort out before I bleed the brakes. Right, just going back to these wheel cylinders then. This is the one that I'm suspecting is leaking. I've straightened up the seal here. I did notice that in here, this was dragging on the seal inside. I've freed it up now, so it looks okay now. Now, I mentioned that these casting numbers are different. You've got NN06, you've got NM02, but I've measured the bores there, and they are identical at 3/4 bores, unless they're stepped inside. I don't know if they're stepped inside, but it were an NN06 that came off, and that's what's going back on. Now, I bought these as a pair before I bought the built up rear plates with everything on it. So I still don't know. I've checked on the internet. I can't find any reference to these letters and numbers that are on the castings. Can't find any reference at all. Now, as I say, I've put this on the car. It's not fully on the car yet because I've got to fit this dreaded clip. And I've looked online. Now, I've already had a go at trying to fit it. There's a certain technique. There's a video where somebody with an MGB puts these two legs in here at the bottom and then clips that over the top. I can't even get the bottom ones in. You got to remember, I'm doing this on my back underneath the car in the damp, right? I'm going to have a go at it this morning before I go out for family festivities. So the way I'm looking at it now, I can get that top one in, but you see that little gap there? You got to bear in mind that I've got to try and do that when this is through the back plate. So there's got to be enough gap there for the back plate, and then I might be able to force one of these legs over. In fact, I feel like I can do that with my finger. So I'm going to have a go at that now. And just to show you something else that I got delivered in time for Christmas, which I'm not going to be fitting yet at the moment because the brakes is priority. I got a load of this sound deadening. It cost me 30 quid. There's 10 of these sheets in a pack and I bought 3 packs. That will be going in when all this suspension and brakes is sorted out. And I also got these, a pair of brand new Reliants. Now, these are exactly the same as what were fitted to Robins and Kittens and very late Regals. The only thing is, I don't think the ones fitted to Reliance had a white base. I don't think they did. But other than that, these are identical. You've got to be careful because sometimes you find these for sale, they don't have this square reflector in the middle. These were listed on eBay as Durite trailer lamps. Didn't mention Reliant at all in the description or title. Durite trailer lamps, £10 each. Bargain. I mean, mine are working that are on the car now, but the problem is I've got some dodgy connections in here inside one of these lamps, and I'm always having a problem with one of my raised stop lamps. I have to keep cleaning it with emery. But I shall renew the, in time I shall put these on. So that's where we are. So it's Christmas morning. I'm going to have a go with this, see if I can get this fitted before I go out for my Christmas lunch with the family and what have you. So there we go, Christmas morning, messing about on the car. I don't know. Right then, Kitten-tastic. We've made it to the caravan site. The car drove all right coming over. I didn't have any issues with the engine. I knew I would. It was mainly the brakes. They're a little bit spongy. They want redoing. But we've made it to the caravan site. There's my mate Jason. So this caravan site then is in a place called Scarisbrick, yeah? Is that right? Yeah. Scarisbrick, and it's between Ormskirk and Southport, and that there is the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. There's not a right lot to see here. Might see some ducks. It's a bit boggy here. We've had loads of rain. So there's the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, and there's a marina on the other side. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to take the car on a little bit of a pootle around. With the suspension, I've noticed, I hadn't noticed much difference at high speeds, but locally and going over speed bumps, it is a big difference. It's a lot smoother. I've lost some of the harshness. I've actually just redone the pressures on the tyres because I had them overinflated. They should be 20 at the front and 22 to 24 at back, and I had them a bit high. So I've redone them, and I've turned I did turn the dampers up halfway to come here, and I've turned them back down. So I like a softer ride, to be honest with you. So we're going to go out around the country lanes, and we'll show a bit of that. We're going to be in the local pub tonight, Eaton's Bridge, for New Year's Eve. Right, so we're on a little bit of a pootle about. I don't know how well you can hear it, how this will come out on audio, because to be honest with you, one of the things I need to do now, the front suspension is done, is try to make the interior more comfortable. I need to get some sound deadening down, get some rubber matting or carpeting. I haven't decided which yet. The headlining one's doing, which is just going to be, I'm just going to glue some thin carpet, which will act as a bit of sound deadening. So the car drives well enough. It's not as smooth as the tricycle though. I want to get it like that. I don't know if I ever will. But around this area it's nice. This Scarisbrick, yeah? I mean, it's a rural area and I like it round here. There's no speed bumps as such. And yeah, it's a lovely area this. an FX4 London black cab that somebody obviously has done up a bit because it looked a really nice one. Not fully warmed up yet, but chokes in now. I need to get tracking redone because the steering wheel has moved a touch since I put it all back together. So I'm going to get tracking redone, and the brakes need bleeding again. They're not really bad, they're not terrible, but they do want another look at because they're slightly spongy. A lot of standing water now. We've just had a load of rain, haven't we? Just come out now to do this before it started again. Here we go, Eaton's Bridge area now. I love these little roads. It's great round here. So we're just coming up to the pub now, I think.
He has little gatherings at some of the two. It's classic car gatherings.
Is it? I'm trying to put it to them in some of them. And this is where we'll be tonight to see you in the new year. Spin it round at more.
It's all this out.
Yeah, this thing's sorry. Right, we're not staying long, I'll just park here in a minute. Right. And we'll call it a draw at that. That's Kitten Project Part 5 done. So I'll just wish everybody a happy new year. See you there.